smaller pieces, right? So I came in with like certain pieces of like, this is clear. I know exactly what this is. But, it's a bigger play than those pieces. And Peter has been really great in sort of fine-tooth combing, making sure we're not like missing any of the smaller pieces, making sure we're very clear along the way in our storytelling. So the whole time I felt like I've been in very good hands with both Peter and with Brandon.
And welcome back to the podcast, the Broad Street Review podcast. I'm your host, Darnell Radford, and today I'm in the virtual studio making a digital connection to Hedgerow Theater to talk about the upcoming production, Dear Jack, Dear Louise, by Ken Ludwig, directed by Peter Reynolds. And I'm here with the two actors in the show who will have introductions in a second. But I just want to tell you just ahead, while we're having this chat, you want to get on the browser and go to Hedgerow Theater, and that's theater spelled re.org, and buy tickets right now. This show is a two-hander, so you should buy 2 tickets and bring a friend because theater is more fun with a +1. So while you're doing that and listening or doing laundry or vacuuming or whatever it is you do when you listen, thank you for listening. We're going to get into this chat. So Brandon, Max, welcome to the podcast.
Thank
you.
Nice
Excited to be here.
Absolutely. It's great to have you both in studio. Let's take a minute to get to know you, and we'll start with Max.
Yeah, hi. I'm a New York City-based actor, but I am from Pennsylvania, and I went to school at Philadelphia. I have a musical theater BFA from Temple University, and so I'm happy to be back in Pennsylvania, pretty close to my hometown where I went to college. So that's awesome, and I'm so excited to be performing with Hedgerow. It's my Hedgerow debut as well.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And Brandon.
Hey, I'm Brandon. I'm Philly-based, originally from Kentucky. Graduated from Northern Kentucky University with my acting degree. I've been working here, acting off and on since 2016. This is my second show here at Hedgerow, having done Midsummer in 2024, also with Peter Reynolds, who's directing the show.
All right, great. Great to learn a little bit about you both. So tell us about Dear Jack, Dear Louise.
Do you want to go first, Brandon?
Sure, yeah. Okay, so we have the backdrop of the teen 40s. We have Jack and Louise, our two-hander play with these two hands. It is based off of the playwright's parents and the letters they wrote to one another during this time. Jack was stationed as a doctor, first in Oregon, and then got transferred here and there and everywhere. And Louise is an aspiring Broadway actress. They made a connection through their parents. And so we start with these people in this world, sort of bumbling around, trying to make a connection, never having seen each other face to face.
Yeah, it's really an incredible story, especially considering that it's based off of real people. It's based off of Ken Ludwig's parents. This is really how their relationship started. So it's really incredible.
Yeah. The first thing I thought of is, one, it's during World War II, right? So neither of you were born at that time. So how much information did you need to know going in about World War II?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I had a good amount of knowledge on World War II. I think my education growing up, my high school and whatnot, actually, every year at some point, we really dove into that chunk of history. So it was good to sort of have that foundation. And then throughout the process, we've kind of looked up things as we went. Our associate director, Brandon McShaffrey, I feel like has really taken the initiative on all the Google searches and the history findings of what exactly are these specific things. Then what exactly is taking a bath in your helmet liner is something that happened during the World War. And yeah, he would sort of just make sure to have the actual details for us, which was super helpful with the process.
Yeah. When you first read the script for both of you, what were your thoughts of this piece in general?
For me, it was just such a heartwarming story. Of course, I just read it to start and cried because you have to cry when reading this story. And also I think World War II, learning from history is so important. And so there's just parallels that you can draw to today's world. So looking at it through that lens was also really hit a lot harder than I think it would have at a different time.
So we met by letter. When I saw that, I was thinking about like, wow, we have so much technology now that you could see someone that you admire in real life and likely go find them online. And you may not initiate your conversation until you see their digital presence. And so it made me think of blind dates. And so I wanted to pose to you both, have you ever been on a blind date? And if so, what was that experience?
I don't think I personally have been on a blind date, but it's interesting you bring this up because we did talk a lot during the process about the sort of nowadays we have FaceTime and texting and all the digital ways of meeting. And I have been long distance with my partner for years because I've done a lot of work on cruise ships and whatnot. So I've been away from home. And it is interesting how the letter writing feels similar to text messaging in a way where and only having this line of communication through a digital space is interesting, and the sort of not looking at the person you're talking to and what that opens up and allows for in conversation. It almost feels more intimate as far as getting to know the person on the inside, like texting, letter writing. Yeah, it's just interesting how that feels so similar when texting was not a thing, obviously, in the 1940s. Yeah, and it's astounding that these two people met and fell in love over letters. But it also, when you think about it, makes a lot of sense that they would really develop a love for each other, knowing the intimate details of their thoughts.
Yeah, I'll say I've never been on a blind date. That's what I have to add here.
Could either of you, if you were in a single status today with all the trappings of technology, could you see yourself engaging in a conversation with someone for a good amount of time without ever meeting them in person? Do you think that you would build a bond with someone you haven't made those sort of visual connections to?
I think you could, but there's really got to be a spark there, something like witty or exciting that catches your interest.
Yeah, I am not sure because I yeah, again, I've never gone on a blind date, but I do love to watch Love Is Blind, that reality show. And that's kind of a similar premise where they start in the pods, not looking at each other. And it's interesting how you see them like develop these connections where it does feel pretty intimate. And then seeing each other does always seem to make or break the situation for a lot of the couples. Um, but yeah, I definitely believe that you can establish like a strong emotional connection without seeing each other first. So I don't know.
If you're off at war, you're in the dark, arguably not getting up to the minute updates about what is going on in the space that you're not currently occupying. And then also thinking of the years between the period that this piece is in and present day, where we know that there are so many scams tied to these types of engagement. And so it always makes me think about whether have we just sort of simplified our ways of expressing love or expressing affection or interest in people because technology has allowed us to do that? Or are we just being lazy by not writing these full on letters that are really challenging our brain to put thoughts on paper and actually make the effort to send it? It's sort of encapsulated in this letter, unless someone tears it up and throws it out. It's pretty much there. And it's just an interesting thought to think about. If someone walked out of the theater today, would they think to start writing letters like they've done in the past? I mean,
Yeah.
like society has done in the past.
So I do think there is an element of the pen to paper and then the extra step of going to the post office or getting it sent through the mail that does mean something. And I encourage people to try it. My partner and I have written letters to each other, and it's a really sweet thing that I really have cherished in my life. And there's, yeah, that element of like emotional intimacy exists in a way in letters that I've not experienced it so much elsewhere.
Well, let's learn more about your characters. Brandon, tell us about Jack in the moment that we're in this piece.
Yeah, so Jack is a captain. He's a doctor in the U.S. Army. I do find him to be quite the gentleman overall, a bit more reserved in nature at first, which is something that I think draws him to Louise. She's this aspiring Broadway actress. She's not afraid to express herself, or yeah. So that sort of exuberance, I think, really is new for Jack. Yeah. So that's where we start in the play.
Yeah, and Louise, I relate to a lot on a personal level. We have a lot of similarities, me and Louise. She's an aspiring actress and dancer, like Brandon said, living in New York City, trying to make it. And it's a very interesting time for her to be doing that in New York City during World War II. So it's a very interesting lens to sort of see the world through her eyes in New York. For me personally, to be in New York now, kind of doing the same thing, and it's such a different world. But anyways, yeah, Louise is very outgoing, bubbly. Like, I think kind of what you think of when you think of an actor, dancer, singer, musical theater person. And I think that really helps the characters. I think that's part of what makes them work, is that you have this bubbly, outgoing, not afraid to talk about anything, will talk your ear off about anything, and then someone who's excited to listen.
Take us into the room for the rehearsal process and talk to us about director Peter Reynolds and what his initial sort of guiding points were. Yeah, talk about how Peter's intent and direction to interpret this play um, you know, formed your character presence.
Yeah, I mean, he's been integral, obviously, to this process and shaping the characters. We fortunately have had a good chunk of rehearsal time, so we've had a good chance to sit down and really talk about what the characters are feeling, thinking, doing in every step of the play. And he has helped so much with, because it's a very interesting play to do as a performer. I can't say I've ever done a show where I'm not actually talking to my scene partner on the stage. We're talking to each other, but we're writing letters, so we're not looking at each other, which is a very interesting experience. And it is a lot of storytelling and things that are not necessarily super active for the actor. So he's helped so much in creating intention behind every single word of what we're saying, and just helping me feel personally like I'm not just saying story after story, and there's a reason why for every single thing I'm saying. I think that sticks out to me the most, as far as just character and performing this show.
Mhm. Yeah, I don't think I could speak exactly to his intentions or interpretation. I feel like it's been very collaborative, and a lot of the time we have found ourselves much on the same page about like what Max was saying, seeing, thinking, feeling, what's going on in those characters. But I mean, we have huge batches of text here. It's just the two of us. And naturally, as the actor, you're drawn to particular pieces, right? So I came in with like certain pieces of like, this is clear. I know exactly what this is. But, it's a bigger play than those pieces. And Peter has been really great in sort of fine tooth combing, making sure we're not like missing any of the smaller pieces, making sure we're very clear along the way in our storytelling. So the whole time I felt like I've been in very good hands with both Peter and with Brandon.
Since you two aren't directly engaging with each other, because these are letters we're hearing, but you're writing. Set the scene for us. Tell us how, like, you've worked on the set. What is the set like? What's the visual? If I'm sitting in the theater, how am I visually processing this piece?
So we have two different worlds on this stage here. We have Jack in his barracks in Medford at the beginning on one side of the stage, and then Louise in her apartment in New York on the other. We have our letter writing desks downstage center. Yeah. And then apart from that, the set is dressed personally to our own effects and occupations.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
when you look at the stage from the audience, you really can get a sense of the two characters just from the set and props and how each side is dressed.
Mhm. Because we're in the time that we're in, are there any conversations in your process that are taking sort of the past tense and sort of holding a mirror up to present? Are you talking about what's going on out in the world today as these characters are portraying their positions in this time of war while we're in a different war now?
I think the parallels exist within the script just of the fact that it's World War II and everything that's going on in the world right now. There's nothing in the script I would say that's super specific to today. Because it is definitely a period piece. Everything is within the the 1940s era, but I think it's easy to draw those parallels for yourself when you either read the script or come and see the show.
agreed.
Are there any moments of the play for both of you that sort of tug at your heartstrings more, or like you look forward to this moment, or this one is just so beautifully lit, like everything is perfectly placed in a moment? Yeah, are there moments in the piece where you're like, I live for this one, or I fall to pieces?
Yeah,
So
I
many,
mean,
so many.
there's a bunch. Would you like to share
I don't
first,
want to give
Brandon?
anything away, but
I
yes, a
know.
big fat yes.
I always
I
think
just
if these
I
are
don't know
out
how
of
to not give it
sequence,
away.
I think if these are out of sequence, it'll be okay. We're there for the ride. Our listeners are prepared.
Well, it's
Without giving it away, can you share a moment, or just a word or two, like, like my
Okay,
favorite
yeah,
mug
I
or
can
whatever.
it's easy to spoil,
I can
but
give you
we also know it's based on Ken Ludwig's parents, so, you
Yeah.
know.
I'll say maybe a little bit of story in the play in Act One. The letter writing, right? We've never met, and somehow Louise gets in touch with my parents, and they invite her to come over while I'm not there, while I'm gone, and I have a very interesting family dynamic that I have to sort of write home about and make sure that everyone's on their best behavior before Louise shows up. So that's a jolly good time.
Yeah, and for me, there's definitely a number of times that Louise gets very dramatic. It's in her personality to sort of, I think, relive everything that's happening as she's telling it. And so I do really enjoy getting to be quite dramatic on stage.
So thinking about these characters in their moment and then us in present day, are there bits of as you're portraying your character where you're thinking like, wow, like I just would not do this in 2026?
There's a lot of 1940s specific things that happen, just like the phones that we have on stage and, sort of the way that at one point, well, I don't want to spoil it, but I get the schedule for something. Nowadays you would just get that emailed to you. You probably have the dates of whatever the thing is immediately. But in Louisa's case, she has to sort of wait until she's able to go to the place and get the schedule, the paper copy. So that's really interesting to think about. Like we're just so connected nowadays that it didn't always used to be like that.
Yeah, I think I'm taking this one too literally. I'm like, well, I would never be a doctor in the army, so there's a lot there.
Yeah, I mean, if this isn't a role you would see yourself in, or you couldn't see yourself in, that's a lot. I'm thinking about the urgency of or the anticipation of waiting for another letter to come. Like what is it clear the time frame of when these letters come to you? Like, is it with next week I got another letter, or it was like 2 months, from getting another letter? Like, is there like a gap in time?
To an extent, yeah. So some of the letters are dated, so the audience can kind of put it together. Like, well, that was 2 months later, or there's also delays for one reason or another that either Louise or Jack is apologizing for at any given time. So, yeah, that anticipation is definitely there, waiting for the next letter. We're like, why aren't you writing me back? It's like being left on red, to put it on
Right. And
maybe
then you
modern
have
context.
the added stakes of it's wartime and Jack is a soldier or a doctor in the war. And so it does add a bit of stakes of, is he okay? I haven't heard from him. And I have to imagine that's very stressful to not get a letter back in the same timely fashion that you've been.
Yeah. Does this portraying these roles, does it make you think of previous generations before you? Like, I'm assuming that this would likely be your grandparents' age. Do you think about anyone who would have been around at that time as you're playing these characters today? Like, what are your thoughts about it?
I've been lucky enough to have two of my great grandmothers in my life. They've passed now, but I knew that they lived to be over 100 years old. um, but anyways, they were Jewish and they lived through that time. They were already here in the States, but I've got some other connections on that side of the family, their husbands or whatnot, who came over during World War II. And it does just make you appreciate in a different life, in a different light when you think about sort of thing, just how grateful I am to be in a safe spot, cozy in my bed. And that's not the case for everybody. And so the only thing I can do is be grateful and help where I can, where it's at all possible to um, create safe spaces for others.
Unfortunately, I can't say that I'm quite connected with anyone in my family that would have much connection to this time.
Yeah, in the time frame of this war, if you were born around this time, you'd probably be in your 80s right now. And looking back on that, that would be like very much in their youth. Like, I know this was happening, but I was like 6. Wouldn't have had a real thought in there. So thinking about this being a love story and it's in February, what do you hope an audience takes away from this experience, this production?
Yeah, I think opening around Valentine's Day for this show is just perfect timing. It is the overall takeaway for me is just the heartwarming story. And what I hope others take away is the search for light and love that Jack and Louise had. It feels so important, especially when the world feels like it's crashing down around you and you just feel so helpless. And how can you help what's going on? I think, especially for my character, Louise, is very much the sense of like, literally, what can I do to help? Like, I'm stuck in my country. I'm not fighting in the war. What can I do here to help? And I think she provided a sort of lightness for Jack that seems to help him keep going and keep fighting and fight to get home. I think it's very important to fight for the light, fight for the goodness, and in this case, it's love. Um, it's nice to feel uplifted after a show and like there's hope.
Yeah. Yeah, these two definitely overcome. Maybe the thought could be, if Jack and Louise can do it, I can do it too. Best case scenario, I guess. I don't know.
All right. Yeah, so that's a good place to end it. Everyone, like I said, I hope you already have tickets already because you listened to me at the very beginning about going to the website. But if you haven't, now you can go to the website again, or you can go to the website for the first time. The production is Dear Jack, Dear Louise. It's by Ken Ludwig. It is directed by Peter Reynolds. It is on stage at Hedgerow Theater right now. If you're listening to this, you can go to Hedgerow Theater, this theaterre.org to get your tickets. And like I said, and like I always say, buy multiple tickets because theater is more fun with a +1. Brandon, Max, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me about Dear Jack, Dear Louise. Enjoy the run, and we'll see you in the theater. It was truly a pleasure.
Thank you, Darnell.